Today we're going to discuss the elements of poetry. Yay! I know you're super excited. Okay, like we did in our warm-up activity, I'm going to ask you to think about what is poetry. What is it about poetry that makes it different from other kind of writing? Poetry is not prose. Prose is the ordinary language people use in speaking or writing. For example, this slideshow is prose, not poetry. Poetry, then, is a form of expression that captures intense experiences like the feeling of love or creative perceptions of the world, such as describing a thunderstorm, in a musical language. Basically, if prose is like talking, poetry is like singing. La la la! Okay, clearly I'm not a singer, but anyways, moving on. By looking at how a poem is set up, its structure, or organization you could say, you can see the difference between prose and poetry. Let's take a look. Understanding elements of poetry. Unlike prose, which has a narrator, poetry has a speaker. A speaker, or voice, talks to the reader. The speaker is not necessarily the poet. It can also be a fictional person, an animal, or even a thing. Let's look at the example below. Please follow along as I read. This is from A Fine Head of Lettuce by J. Prelutsky. I am a fine head of lettuce, a handsome romaine. I haven't a cranium made for a brain. I'm simple and shy. I remain on my own. I'm known in the garden as lettuce alone. Okay, so do we think that J. Prelutsky, the poet, is the speaker of this poem? I don't. And how do I know that? Well, let's look at the first line. In the first line, we see it says, I am a fine head of lettuce. So right away, we know that this speaker is the head of lettuce. He refers to himself as I. As we continue our study of poetry, I want you to think about how the speaker helps us as readers understand what the poem is about, how it conveys meaning. Okay, so identifying the speaker in a poem is definitely going to help us understand what the poem is about and understand its meaning. But another way to begin analyzing or looking deeper into a poem is to look at the stanza structure, which is the style of a poem. The style has to do with the overall organization, or the way the poem looks on a page. While short stories or news articles consist of sentences and paragraphs, poems are made up of lines. A line can be a single word, a sentence, or part of a sentence. In many poems, lines are arranged or grouped into stanzas. Stanzas are separated by a space. You can think of them like paragraphs in an essay. The way an author chooses to arrange lines and stanzas can affect a poem's meaning. Let's take a look and see if we can find out how. As I read the example to the right, please follow along. Notice the stanzas and number of lines in each stanza as I read it. I want you to think about how this organization or setup, how the poem looks on the page, can contribute to its meaning. Does it? We'll come back to this question after we answer our activities from our next slide. Here we go. Losing Face by Janet S. Wong. Finally, Mother is proud of something I've done. My girl won the art contest, she tells the world, smiling so big and laughing so loud, her goal too shows. I'm the only one who knows how I drew so well, erasing the perfect lines I traced, drawing worse ones on purpose in their place. I feel awful. I want to tell, but I don't want to lose Mother's glowing, proud face. Aw, how sad. At least that's how it makes me feel. I want you to think about that when we come back to it in a few minutes. Again, I want you to consider how the stanzas and the lines in this poem help the author to convey meaning to us. Okay, once you've reached this slide, you're going to want to take out your headphones after I'm done speaking, of course, because I'm going to give you instructions on what you'll be doing. You'll be working with your partner to answer the questions below. We have conveniently uploaded these for you in your Google Classroom on a document. So you'll be able to type out the answers to the questions in that Google document in your Google Classroom. Again, you're going to work with your partners to answer the questions. They're the same ones here, but I have copied them or transferred them into a document in your Google Classroom so that you can answer them. Be sure to put both names on the document. Thank you.